Well, we have Shannon here today to help taste some mangoes.
Awesome.
You live on the west coast of Florida, right?
I do. I live just near the Ringling Museum property in Catazan, about a mile from the ocean in Sarasota, just south of the Sarasota airport. So these little round trips are about 8 hours with a stop to get something to eat on the way back, maybe eat some mangoes in the truck before I drive back for some quick energy. But yeah, I've lived in Sarasota for a couple years now. I relocated from the Kansas City, Missouri area when kind of COVID came around. My company allowed me to work from home, and I said, well, home can be anywhere. How about Florida? And so I've been here ever since, and I love it. And I kind of got the mango growing bug from being growing up on a farm, a 125-acre farm in Missouri, in small town Missouri, where we raised a lot of things. And so I've always had a passion about growing. And then, there's nothing more satisfying than growing mangoes. So
on your farm in Missouri, you were growing stone fruits, is that right? Or
a combination of things, and it was originally purchased in the late 1800s by my great-grandparents, and my first experience with grafting or stone fruit growing would be I lied, that apples are not stone fruit, but we had stone fruit then too. With grafting was my Meemaw, my great-grandma, and she had found in an old Gurney catalog that they were selling fruit cocktail trees that were cross grafts of different varieties of apples and pears and things like that. And my Meemaw could do anything. And so she decided, I'm going to make me one. And so she took 4 different varieties of apples and grafted them onto one tree. And I haven't been to the farm in a number of years looking for the tree, but other than one branch that broke off because it got too heavy with fruit, I think the tree is still there. Wow. And of course she was 100 years old when she died, and it was many years ago. So, but we still to this day have peaches, pears. My parents still live there. Apples. They're not trees, but boysenberries and blueberries and gooseberries and all kinds of stuff. And then we had crops to make money off of. We had a U-pick strawberry farm for a long time, where we were right by 2 large roads, and so people come pull off, and for $2 or $3 you give them a basket and they go pick whatever they want. And then we had crops for feeding livestock and like that, and we had cattle, and so it's kind of evolved over the years. And then as the kids moved away and kind of my parents are there, they kind of shrunk down what they take care of. They don't want to take care of that much, and so the trees, fruit trees and decorative trees around the house, and about I guess an acre or two. My dad's 73 or 4, and he still mows over an acre by himself, acre and a half on a regular basis, so they can get to all the fruit trees and stuff. And there's a little lake. So
sounds very nice.
It is. I'll still take Florida. It's actually over 100 at home now, and it's not even 100 here.
All right. Yeah.
And then the winter. Missouri winter.
So when did you first get the mango bug?
So the house I'm at right now, I originally just found as a rental, and it was a very unique property in that it wasn't just renting from a company. It was a lady's home that she and her husband had for 20 years, and they have just surrounded it with all kinds of fruits, and I mean, you could live there and just eat all the fruit and things. And in the backyard there was a very tall tree, and I didn't know what it was until it bloomed and started making these kind of little weird green egg-shaped things. And there was over 150 mangoes that grew on that tree. And I started, of course, tasting them, and started delving into Florida mango culture, and realizing that you break the crust and there's this huge culture about it. And I just kind of really enjoyed how satisfying it is to watch them grow. They're an easy to care for tree in general. I mean, compared to what I would experience in the Midwest to care for a cherry tree or a peach tree. And the fruit's delicious. It's beautiful to look at, and I just got really enamored. And then come to find out there was a turpentine tree in the front yard. And from my understanding, it was a grafted tree, and the top grafted died, and they had just let it grow. And it had well over 100 little egg-sized turpentine fruit, which I had forgive me, at the time nicknamed Crappy Mango, because I didn't know what a turpentine mango was. And they've got this big seed and all this fiber, and I didn't know you could just kind of, crush them and drink the juice and juice box them.
Yeah.
And so I thought, well, gosh, this is just inferior fruit, And so at the end of the year, not knowing any better, I got out my handy chainsaw, and it was shaped like a V, and I only cut one. And so I left the other side, because I didn't want it to die. I didn't know at that time specifically to mangoes, but I knew with other trees that you're going to top graft, you can cut back, and as long as you save a nice big piece. And so that side flourished, although like many mango trees, I think this year there wasn't much on it. But the other side shot grafts out, new growth out, and I grafted to it for grafting practice. And so now it's got on that arm Pettigrew and Pineapple Pleasure and Sugarloaf and Fingers Crossed on an M4 that I had from an M4 I bought from you. And so it just kind of metastasized after that, and I really got the bug. And at my height, if you will, I had over 40 mango trees in the lot next door, which I also have. That's just an open city-sized lot with nothing on it. Above ground, all but 6 of them. And the biggest pot I have is a 65-gallon Phoenix. And so I have cut back some, coming just a little different angle rather than volume because of the size of property I have. I've started to learn to graft and start graft mangoes and cross grafting them, and then I might sell that tree off if I think, hey, this is a mango where I really like the fruit but I don't need to eat a whole tree of it. And so I'll try to do research on and I'll ask lots of questions on the growth habit of the tree, vigor, growth habit, tight balling, vertical growth, spreading, and then try to cross graft similar varieties to make a fruit salad tree, out of mangoes, but ones that will hopefully look attractive and one won't take over and like that. There's a lot of them are still fairly young, so I don't know how it'll totally go, but I have a really nice, and then I shape trees when I graft them too. Since they're in pots, I use large wooden poles, and if they're kind of all on one side, I'll spread them out so it makes a pretty attractive shape, and then graft so that when the graft grows, it's got its own section. So I try to keep in mind aesthetics, if you will, and that's something I kind of take from picking fruit on the farm in the Midwest, and that's something I think you've alluded to in a couple of your videos, is that you've got to be able to discern which type of fruit is on this multi-grafted tree. Is it an underripe piece of one variety? Is it another variety? Sometimes it's obvious, sometimes maybe not so much.